The body of former UN Secretary General Mr. Kofi Annan has been brought home for burial and final funeral rites. We now go over to the Accra International Conference Center, where the body of the late former UN Secretary General Mr. Kofi Annan is. On the line is our correspondent Edward Nyako.
Right. Now we are still at the Accra International Conference Center. I have with me Dr.
Kojo Quarantine.
Dr. Kojo Quarantine, I'm told, lives in Switzerland, and he was one of the friends of a cousin of Mr. Kofi Annan. Oh wow, that's great.
Yes.
How often were you able to see each other while he was alive?
Oh, I mean, being a UN Secretary General and living in Switzerland, I see him fairly regularly. And after he retired, I mean, he always made the point that when he came to the German-speaking area of Switzerland, he would say, Joe, let's meet in Zurich or something. And I'll go over and we'll meet and have a chat, talk about family affairs, whatever. So yes, he was a great cousin. I really looked up to him, and I think his legacy is something very special for the whole of Africa. And we think as time goes on, we'll see much more of what he's really left behind for Africa.
I have also Dr. Teresa Dakwa, a physician also at 37 Military Hospital in Accra here. Also a cousin?
No. Uncle Joe and Uncle Kofi, well, he was my uncle. Uncle Joe is still my uncle. Yes. They are the, I'd say the older generation from OB463. That's the family house in Bompasa, Kumasi. So I'm a younger generation. I just happen to be a physician just like he is.
All right. Now you're talking about his legacy. What are some of the things that you can talk about?
I think when you talk of being a humble person and coming across this humble approach to his work. I remember talking to him the very last time. That was in Zurich. That was early June this year. And we talked about the whole Saddam Hussein bit, where he had to do is saving of one's face. You know, you don't make somebody lose his face and then expect the person to comport or do whatever. But he was very particular that both sides saved their face, and he made sure that both parties came across not as losers or winners, but as kind of equals. And that was one of the perfect things, the jobs that he really, really mastered. You know,
your uncle, the late Mr. Annan, what are sort of things you think that he did and impacted humanity?
I think that in spite of the heights that he rose to, Uncle Kofi was very down to earth and very humble, and he was a very disciplined person. He also had time for his family. Both his nuclear family and his extended family. He cared about all of us, and he always had good advice for all of us. He was approachable, and that's very important. It's a big loss, a very big loss to the family.
It's a big loss to the family. Meeting him once in a while, what are some of the things that you in his leisure hours that we are not aware of his social life? You being close to him sometimes, what are some of the things that he used to do when he had much time?
Well, Kofi is a special person. I mean, he was, what should I say? Oh, he likes sports.
He liked sports, and he liked music, yes, and he liked dancing too, yes. And he would always try and get us all together. Anytime he was around, he would organize for all of us to meet him. And those were very special times, meeting him when he was around. I remember those times fondly.
So, share most of those.
You know something? Like I said, we both live in Switzerland, so of course it's in the foreign. But I think we share a heritage in the sense that he always said, Joe, I came in '61. And I went to Switzerland in '71. We've been out there for ages, and I keep asking Cousin Kofi, when do you want to go? And he says, Joe, Rachel, also double never call. he was jovial. He was very jovial. He had a great sense of humor. And for me, what I really cherish about him was the way he reached out to each and every family member. And there was never an email or an SMS or that he wouldn't respond to. Each time I send him an SMS, he will respond. And give it not 3 days or 4 days. No. A couple of hours later, there was a response. So he was very particular about family. He really cared for it. Yeah, he really brought us together. That's why we are all out here. Bern, what is called? What I want to say that. Yes.
Like that. We really cared about him. Yeah.
Thank you very much. These were some of the family members of the late Mr. Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, the first black African to rise to that peak or that summit. Mr. Kofi Annan was born April 8, 1938. At the age of 80, he's passed on to eternity. This is live transmission from Accra, Froya, and Edward Nyakon reporting for Ghana Television and GBC 24.